Welcome to another episode of Cup of Joe. Today, I am very excited to have Ben Wells, the president of Kaplan Development Group, here with me. We are sitting in the absolute beautiful All-American at Coram here in Long Island. So, Ben, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Actually, rather, thank you for having me because we're in your place.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
Thank you for having me on the show.
It's amazing. So Ben, to get everything started, tell me a little bit about how you started off in this industry. Why senior living?
So it's very interesting, actually. I never really thought I'd be in this industry. I was in finance, and I met my girlfriend, who happens to now be my wife. Her father was a pioneer in the industry, Glenn Kaplan from Kaplan Development Group. His prior life, he ran a public company, Kaplan Senior Quarters. They were on the NASDAQ stock exchange, and he got into the industry almost by default when New York State, where he had a lot of properties, motels, hotels, called him with looking for senior subsidized housing for people that needed additional care. So that's when he got into the business. So he built a business and had 27 facilities in New York State, was the biggest operator at the time in New York State, and then went public. And then by default, kind of retired because of that, and realized at late 40s was not the time for him to retire. There was a lot more for him to do in this industry. So he started Kaplan Development Group in 2001. And I joined in 2007, a year after getting engaged to my wife, growing the portfolio. I was in finance, working at Morgan Stanley. And I saw an opportunity to work with him, and I really admired him as a person. So I joined the family business and never looked back. And he's been a great mentor to me, and we've worked together for 18 years. And I really love just the industry, and I love being in a solid family business.
That's an absolutely great story. Tell me a little bit about your path to leadership and what that all looked like.
Yeah, so I mean, starting in the business, I was more on the development side, worked with a couple people in my office, but wasn't really so much of a leader in the sorts of saying that I, was running the company at that time. So, through the years of development and seeing early on when there was the availability for the capital stack to invest in senior housing, I ended up focusing on growing the business and facilities like this that we were doing entitlements on and so forth. Then what happened was, after the pandemic, there was a lot of change in the industry, in our corporate office as well. And that's when I took on the role of president of Kaplan Development Group. And doing that, I oversee the day-to-day, and everyone reports up to me, which, was very different from when I started in the industry.
I love that. And you'd mentioned earlier in the episode that Glenn Kaplan was a great mentor for you. Can you tell me about some other mentors, or if you want to evolve that answer with Glenn, tell me a little bit about that mentorship and what all of those meant to you?
Yeah, so I mean, starting with Glenn has been unbelievable as a principal and an owner. I am his son-in-law, so that obviously, outside of the office, there's other conversations about work and so forth. But he's just been really a great mentor. Taught me the ins and outs of the business, from the financial side to the development side. The operating side, he was not as much involved in, but still obviously involved, very hands-on owner. But, just working with him closely for the last 17, 18 years has been very rewarding. And I'm happy to say we never had one fight.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's absolutely amazing. I know that both you and Glenn have a great passion for wanting to change this industry and kind of move things forward. So what are your plans, I should say, for Kaplan Development Groups and the way that you plan to change the industry?
That's a good question. Right now, we're at 18 properties. It's been difficult over the last 4 or 5 years to do new development because of inflation, some economical, changes in just the political spectrum of the world that we're in right now and the cost to do new business. But we are looking to evolve and do more management. If the opportunity does come up, obviously acquire assets. So there's those type of things that we're focused on. But we are also, focused on growth. If there's the ability to do new developments, we certainly would not turn it down. As far as changing, then what like Kaplan wants to put is our stamp on our time while we're in the industry. It's really about the residents. So we want to provide better outcomes for our residents, and I think a lot of that comes with technology, and it's become more of a clinical than it has been social model. So that's changed over time. So I think there's a lot to be done, and we're like right on the forefront of it with AI and technology and providing better outcomes in some of our third-party platforms that we use, like the clinical platforms that can give you information based on the residents and kind of tell you like this resident might be, on a path towards, X, right.
Yeah. And I think that that's really important. Technology being paired with the clinical side in senior living is obviously a big conversation right now in the space. And it is fitting a pretty substantial unmet need. And I don't want to say unmet, but it's one of those challenges that we face all the time where, sometimes residents have extra needs that technology can't necessarily support, but we're getting to those points. So what type of tech are you guys using specifically in terms of different programs?
So, it's a larger conversation, I guess you can say, because I'm very techie in my own right. Just, I guess, growing up with the start of the iPhones and everything, and I'm always looking to bring in new technology into the senior housing space. And I think that it's been talked about for like 10 years, but technology really has not evolved in the senior housing space as quickly as some other industries.
Right.
So I do think that, again, AI will serve a purpose in different functions. I also think that there's some fall preventative or fall systems that people are using with cameras in the residential units or in the facility, so they can detect if somebody did fall. They can, get to that person's quicker than just doing your routine visit in the unit and then seeing that somebody might have fallen. But outside of really AI and working with the senior housing EMR systems, which are the
electronic medical health records.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a tongue twist. But anyways, working with those, and again, I think that'll really speak to the caregivers and give them more insight on the actual resident so that they can prevent certain outcomes.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. Ben, we talked a little bit about what Kaplan is doing to support the resident experience. Are there specific things that you're doing to personalize that resident experience?
Of course. I mean, that starts at discovery. So when we, if somebody does call us or they stop in and they want to learn more about the facility, it's really engaging with that family member or that resident and understanding, what the individual likes of this, prospective resident are. We always want to cater to our residents. And of course, it's critical to us to make sure that, they're moving into our community and they are living the life that they want to live. So we want to fulfill it and make sure that we can meet all their demands. So yeah.
So Ben, of course, in this industry, we always try to approach every single thing that we're doing with a certain level of empathy, and really understanding where our residents are and trying to meet them where they are. So tell me about what you and your organization are doing to meet the resident where they are at with that level of empathy.
So that's a very good question.
Or I should say cultivating the culture of that.
Okay. Well, it's, we want everybody that comes in this building, whether you're an employee, a resident, or, just a family member visiting, we want everyone to feel welcome. This is their home. I think it's very important that, you treat others how you want to be treated.
Absolutely.
So, that's paramount to us.
So Ben, what's something that keeps you up at night in the senior living industry?
I would say elopements. Elopements keep me up at night. I mean, you want to make sure that the building is secure. Never want to have any incidents where, you can be on the morning news. So those are always important to me. Life safety is very important to me, and just making sure that our residents are safe. Obviously, our staff members, anyone in the building, but to make sure that life safety is number one.
Once a new group chooses Kaplan to be the management partner, what does the onboarding process look like for you?
It's just like being in a relationship. You gotta have to understand us and our dynamic and how we work. We're very hands-on. We, want to treat this community, if we're going to come in, and if it's taking a third-party management contract, or even, partnering with you, but being the operator. We always want to, understand the dynamics of your investment team and what's important to you, as well as, making sure that we can work together and have real conversations. So when we are going to look at an opportunity, we would do our due diligence, make sure that we can make better choices or better outcomes for that building. Whether it's an additional units that are unseen with some common space, or maybe it's levels of care that we be charging, or tightening up the expenses in the property, all pretty typical stuff. But at the same point, it really starts with the people in the community. So I wouldn't say we would come in and just turn everybody over, but you got to make sure that you have the right team and the right players. And that's key. And I see that in all of our properties. The teams that work well together, cohesive, those are the buildings that really thrive.
Fair. All right. So Ben, tell me, when you're taking on an underperforming community, is it drastically different than taking one on that's stable?
It is different. I wouldn't say it's drastically different, but I would say it's different.
Okay.
There's certain things that I would look at when we do take on a facility that is underperforming, and it's a lot easier when you're looking at a facility that is stabilized and has historical occupancy that's been, high in the high occupancy range, 95 or higher. So we would look at the dynamics of that market. We would look at the demographics. Are we getting the right people in this community? What is our outreach like as far as boots on the ground and doing external outreach? We would also look at the team in place to make sure that we have the right players in the facility to operate the building.
All right. So Ben, what do you feel makes Kaplan stand out from any other partners or potential management companies?
That's a very good question. I would say that what makes Kaplan different is our approach. We're not bureaucratic. We don't have a large organization. And sometimes people see large organizations as like successful, and you want to be with somebody that has, 400 properties under management. And what we've heard from a lot of the people that work for us versus working for some of the larger providers is that we're very hands-on. There's not the layers that you have to go through to get answers. And I think a lot of people like working with a team that's so hands-on and just passionate about what they do.
Amazing. Right now we are sitting in the All-American Assisted Living at Coram. It's an absolutely beautiful property. You and I have worked together for 5 years.
Right.
And it seems to me that the management, or I should say the ownership groups that you have worked with over that 5 years, you're still working closely with. What do you think has made those relationships work so well?
I think they appreciate the way that our outlook is on, one, the industry, two, that we've been in the industry for a long time. When it comes back to Glenn Kaplan, who's been in the industry for 40 plus years and a pioneer in the industry. But at the same time, it's really the fact that we're so hands-on. I would say that it's the working relationship is really good in that regard. And, you know, that's something that I believe the investor side of things, because before they were just really looking at it more as a real estate play with good margins. I think now they understand that it's such more of an operating business and more of a medical model. So there's a lot more and staffing and some of these other challenges that all these providers are facing that could really upset the apple cart per se in the property. You know, we keep them in a loop.
Ben, first off, thank you so much for joining our show, our Cup of Joe episode. Now that we've kind of wrapped up, I've got some speed round questions that I want to throw at you. So the premise of this is basically I'm just going to ask you as many questions and you answer as honestly as you can. It's a little bit of a way to get to know you and also just put you on the spot best way I possibly can.
Okay. So
and hopefully there's some good questions that your staff can come back and take a look at and say, oh my God, I had no idea about that with Ben. So we're going to start off. Dogs or cats?
dogs, definitely.
Sweet or salty?
Sweet.
Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Early bird.
Oh, okay. I would have guessed the other. Your favorite holiday?
Favorite holiday is probably Thanksgiving.
All right. What was the last TV show you binge watched?
I just recently watched on flight back from France, Stick with Owen Wilson.
All right.
Yeah.
Very cool. What's your childhood nickname?
Benny.
Benny. Love it. Did you ever get into trouble at school?
No, never at school. Only, I was the angel and only got in trouble at home, probably.
Awesome. Who's the funny one in your family?
I would like to say myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Do you cook?
I do cook. I love to cook.
Okay. What's your absolute favorite recipe?
A chicken parm, a good chicken parm, I think is, quite solid.
Okay. Awesome. And the last question, if you could eat one type of cuisine for the rest of your life, what would you choose?
Probably Asian fusion or Japanese food.
Okay, actually Japanese food is also marked. Yeah. Now, a lot of people kind of go back and forth on that. They say like, oh, Italian, they've got the desserts, they've got all the...
Right.
Japanese desserts are also delicious.
They are
so
delicious.
I'm totally down. Ben, thank you so much. Before we let you go, I do have something small for you to commemorate our time together. I'm going to ask Ozzy to bring it over. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's so kind of you.
This is your Distinguished Citizen Award for being a citizen with us for the last 5 years.
Thank you. Very, very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you for providing this.
And again, thank you so much for being on the show. I really do appreciate you and look forward to hearing what's next with Kaplan.
Thank you. Likewise. It was great.
Awesome.